Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Trader Minute. Hey, it's great to have you on board. I'm Carl, and thanks for tuning in on this day in the market. It's pretty red out there, huh? Got rose-colored glasses on. The market's down. Let's go look at a chart of it. 18 points. The market's down. Pretty ugly day. Blood out on the street. Not big time blood, but yeah, we're coming back down. We bounced back off the 1800 level. Again, I've been saying this for me for a little bit of a double. I'm sorry, this head and shoulders pattern, I'd give it 1780. A pretty bearish move today, but I'd give it 1780 before I'd get ultra bearish. Top three today, I got a top three, and I'm going to go look at these. We're going to go look at them. As far as a new trade today, I've been looking high and low, and there are so many stocks that were set up really good. I mean, I had my eyes on this one a long time today. Beautiful setup, but it just ran lower. It's ran. I don't not trusting it here. It's quite a ways away from the seven. $1.50 higher above the seven, but it's a nice little breakout there. Other stocks I've been watching on the bullish side of things. And actually, one of my top three is Altria. Nice looking chart. I mean, where's the bearishness here? There's not any. Nice little reversal pattern here on a day where the market's tanking. This is just rallying. This is one of my top three, um, and I'll get to those lists here in a second. One of the ones, and somebody mentioned it here a little while ago, was Ford, and this is a nice setup. I just couldn't get the risk reward I wanted. I love the setup. There's about 25% risk on a close below the seven. I could not get 80, 75, 80% gain at my price target here. I think 1575 is where this could go. It's got to get through 16 to get there, and you'd have to go near-term options. I looked at January week ones, December week fours. I couldn't quite get the 3 to 1. I couldn't argue entering here. You probably get a decent return. I still think it could come to 16 fairly easy, but um, I just couldn't get the risk reward that I wanted for the challenge. All right. So this is one of my top three. And I don't have it in there, you guys. Sorry. I've been looking through charts, and I just haven't had the time to put those in there. I'll put those in there by the time I'm done here tonight. So here's a bullish trade for you. You get a little bit of a turnaround in the market, and watch this thing jump. This could go right up into the upper Bollinger Band, and might keep going. It's got some nice move. The volumes are high. It's a nice little reversal pattern here on Altria Group. It's outperforming the group and outperforming the market. Very bullish looking chart in the midst of all the red out there. Okay. And then my last top three, EMC. Could be, Santa dresses in red. He'd like that. Here's the last of my top threes. So they got a challenge here, a challenge channel. It's about $1 channel here. This could go down towards the 22.5 area to find a level down below. You have to go back to about a year chart and you'll find it back there. But this is another bearish setup. The thing that's a little bit hesitant here is the volume. It don't have the bigger volumes on a break like that, but you notice what we've had the last 2 days. You've got the big volumes. And this breakout is pretty bearish. So my top three, EMC, and the charts will be there again within the next hour or so. EMC, and then Ford, another one. I love the setup. It looks to run down. I'd say 1575. That's about all I could get. I could get 3 to 1 ratio at 1550. I just couldn't see that on the chart. It might hit it, but it's got to get through 16. It's got to get, and then 1575, which it's hit in the past. I just couldn't get the 3 to 1 that I wanted for the challenge. So, but Ford, if you don't want to get a big, a nice gain, just risk reward sets up fairly well, but just didn't get the 3 to 1 that I was looking for. I mean, I priced those options for quite a while to try to get it. I just couldn't get the price target that I wanted to put those in, but I still see this going down towards the $16 level. Okay, and then my last of my top three. So I had Ford, I had EMC, and Altria. Altria, and this is a bullish move. Two bearish moves and a bullish, and yeah, like I'm saying here, there's no bears here. The bulls are alive and well here, and the volumes are high. It's had a nice reversal, pushed up above the 7, came down to the 7, and today's holding it and pushing it off of it. It looks really nice. Let me check something before I give that one a final approval in my top three. Well, earnings was the 24th. There's no news here. They declared a regular dividend of 48 per share. So a little bit of good news there on Altria, but no sell-off. No sell-off. A lot of times, even when the stocks can get little news like that, they can turn around. And yeah, Sean, I mean, the spreads are tight. I mean, it looks nice. I just couldn't get the risk reward I wanted out of Ford. I still see downside written all over it. And with Ford, and all any of these trades, okay, the stop's going to be on the 7 here, which is basically today's high. The stop would be on the 7. I priced that in. Be about a 25 to 30% risk. I couldn't get 80 to 100% gain out of this one at the price target I'm looking at. Okay, and it had to go near-term options. You could even do December week fours. They're pretty inexpensive. I was looking at the 17s, December week fours, I believe. So the top three, Ford is a bearish trade, and then EMC also bearish. Yeah, also a bearish trade here, and then with Altria, this is a bullish trade. Nice bullish setup. And again, you get a little bit of a bounce in the market tomorrow. Get ready, it's going to go. So the market's pretty much at the lows. It's run lower throughout the day. So challenge trades. Again, I've been looking high and low. Low was actually one of them. And it fizzled out. I was looking at Citi. Citi went too far. Uh, Adobe. Adobe, not a bad looking setup. Should be trend right or bear signal. It's just entering the band. It's got it there. It's not huge volumes. This would be a nice break of this level right here. I could see Adobe going lower too. Uh, and if it has continued to rally. When I last looked at this, and it's too late. I was looking at this as a challenge trade as well. It wasn't quite as low as it is now. It's been selling off. It was down about wasn't down a full percent. It was down about 3/4% when I was looking at it earlier. But it's running down a little bit lower, which makes the setups even nicer. But as far as making it for the challenge right now, I wouldn't have enough time to get it out. But it's not that this could go on a top three easily if it can hold this low right here. Nice looking bearish setup here on Adobe. Thanks, Max. Thanks for typing that in there. Appreciate that. Other stocks that I've been looking at, you talk at another bullish chart. Walgreens. Nothing bearish there either. Even when the market sold off, this has just done nothing but go higher. This would be a vibe bull signal. It's not a ultra, a picture perfect vibe bull, I'll say, because it's not breaking up through 50, but this is some bullish price action. So that's another bullish trade. So there's some decent setups. Nike ran too far. Red Hat is not set up. So there's just some advantage. Oh, yeah, it does. Thank you, BH. When they don't make the top three, a lot of times I don't run in. December 12th, thank you very much. So cross Adobe off the list. Trader Girl, yeah. I was. I like the bearishness here in CERN. It could run down to the $53 area. The options, a little bit widespread there on the options. If you don't mind dealing with wider spreads on the options, it's a nice bearish trade. It's about $1.50 away from the seven. There, it just raises the chances of some consolidation back to the seven. It doesn't mean it can't go lower. It's like Baidu. Baidu had the same thing going on a couple days ago, and it shot higher big time the next day. But another bearish setup. Tesla, it's just right there. It's down about 250. It's been at this range for a little while now. We're gonna hold Tesla tonight. Gonna hold it. Yeah, there's a chance it could gap lower tomorrow. The risk could be, we might be risking another $200 to $300 on our options right here. We're gonna hold Tesla here. In my opinion, remember you always hear me say areas of support and resistance. It's not exact numbers. It's more of a range, and we're right there. We're right at it. If it gaps lower tomorrow, we'll exit and move on to the next trade. With Walgreens, yeah, it's a nice looking trade. I mean, it's no bearish signs here in a day where everything should be selling off or most things selling off. This is up strongly. It's a nice looking chart. I couldn't argue that entering here. I'd definitely hold it overnight. Okay, SPX. There we are, right in the lows again. There's a lot setting up, and that's another reason I wanted to hold off here. U.S. Steel is on the list. That's getting close. Um, One of the other stocks, my mind went blank on me, that I've been watching here for a breakout. It's Colgate. The bands are getting a little bit tighter here. It looks like it might close down here just underneath the seven, but it's got to break down one way or the other. Some of these other groups here, some of the other areas here. So here's consumer staples. Procter and Gamble is another one that I consider today, but it's selling off a little bit here. It just, as far as a challenge trade, I thought there was probably going to be some better setups. Another one I've been looking for too is Pandora. Technically, trend rider bear signal right here. It's just got a lot of area to get through on the chart right here. See this big area right through here? A lot of area to get through. It could come down towards 25. Volumes are big today. It's a big candlestick. Those always make me hesitate a little bit. The seven's about $1.50 away. It's a big move today. It's down 7.5%. It's just too big of a move. It could keep going, but you could also get a little bit of consolidation here. I always hesitate when you see those the big moves like that. Hollywood, the S&P 500. 1780 is kind of the 1780. If that breaks and run in the lower band, we could be off. The bands are contracting here. I mean, looking at it technically, but the bands are contracting, suggesting that same thing. 1780 could be some support there. If it breaks through that, then we're down to at least 1760, if not down towards 1740. There's a head and shoulders pattern up there as well, which would confirm at 1780. You could argue a little bit higher than 1780, but I always give it the bigger round numbers when I'm looking at those types of setups like that. Sell off in the market, could it be talks of taper as early as next week? I've heard. Could it be the feds and things like that? There's a lot of reasons. But for the most part, historically, rallies don't end in December. But I'm not saying that calling a top here on this, but typically Decembers are bullish overall, and Januaries tend to be a little bit. Well, there's different things with January, the January effect, and things like that. But Barnes and Noble. So in the midst of the sell-off, it had a huge sell-off a couple days prior here. It's closing inside the band. If I was bearish on this, and I've had puts on this, I'd get out because it's closing inside the band. But this is not any big. Well, look at the volume step in here down around 14 area. Some pretty big volume stepping in right there around 14, but it still doesn't mean that little bit of weakness here is over. There could have been some news a couple days, well, on last Friday. I had to look, but there could have been some news. That's a pretty big day and some giant volumes. And a lot of times when you see that, it's some news that popped out. I'd look into that. There's no bearish entrance nor bullish entrance right here. Oh wow, Nucor. Yeah, I mean, wow, what a turnaround. Up big to going down. That's a big day. Down two, 2.75%, dropping below the 7. If I was in a trade still on this, get out. It's closing below the 7. It's kind of an ugly candle on Nucor. C was one of the ones I was watching today. Yeah, U.S. Steel. It's getting ripe. It's not ready yet, but it's getting ripe. Bands are starting to expand. We just got to see which way this goes. A drop lower could push this down to 24, if not 23. If it breaks out of here, I see it going towards 80. But we had a day just like this 3 days ago, last Friday. We had a day just like today, so don't get overly bearish on this thing yet. Nexstar Broadcasting. So this is showing. This is kind of like an FDX. Wanting to get up, it's got a bullish, ascending triangle pattern going on it. What you're looking for here is that break up above 50. A break above 50. If you get volume, it'd make it good, but you don't necessarily need that volume. But you get a nice break up there above 50, that would be the ticket. That's where you'd get bullish. I bring in the vibe, and that's exactly what that's going to tell you. A break above 50. Everything else looks pretty good. The indicators aren't exactly rising. They've kind of rolled over a little bit here, but it doesn't mean it can't break higher. Just loosens the odds a little bit, but still a nice push here above 50. If it had volume, I'd feel a lot more secure about it. You could argue the indicators here are rising, the MACD as well as the rate of change I was looking from over here. But looking back just recently here, they're both going up. Look for that break there above 50. That would be time to get bullish on it. Yeah, Martin, we've been waiting for a correction for like a year. No, we've had a little bit of a corrections here or there, but man, they just get bought up so fast. It's yeah, it's been a while since I've heard this, but I've heard a lot of people saying this is the most hated bear market, I mean bull market in history, because the times when you expect some corrections, they've just been really, it hasn't really happened. We've been down 3% or so, 3 to 4% during the year at times, maybe 5% once or twice, but not your typical type of year, a very bullish year. With Ford, I'd probably go December week fours. Really, December week fours and the January week ones are only priced within about a nickel of each other. Okay. Yeah, right. Exactly. Not that. I got you, Martin. Frank, we're not going to enter anything today. There was the top three. I like the setups. I just couldn't get the risk reward I wanted out of them. And that's one thing we try to keep tight. We try to keep tight control on here is how much we're risking versus how much the reward. The risk set up pretty well for the trades I was looking at. I was looking at Ford for a long time, going through all the different type of options on Ford. Couldn't get a nice 3 to 1. Could get 2 to 1 pretty easy, uh, but I couldn't get a full 3 to 1. And I was looking at even the January monthlies, not January, but December monthlies, which is a little bit tight now. And then I'd go out a couple weeks on the weeklies, and I still couldn't quite get a 3 to 1, but I still think Ford's set to go down. So we're not going to do a challenge trade today. They are also going to be tomorrow. I think we're going to see a lot of good setups. We're going to get a little bit more confirmation on the market of which way it's going to go, because we're coming down right onto that level, just above the 1780. It held this level last week, Okay, but a push below the 180, then I look to go a little bit bearish. It's not going to be a full 6% that we like to look for in the bullish percent index. Um, so here's something we haven't looked at in a little while. This is the advanced decline issue, the number of decliners versus the number of advancers. And typically, it rarely gets the levels here to watch. Oops. Levels to watch on this are about 2,000. Doesn't get to 2,000 very often and doesn't get above 2,000 very often either. When it gets in these levels like this, when it gets in these extreme conditions below a negative 2,000, then what that's telling you is most of the S&P here is going red, which is pretty bearish for it to see. Above the 2,000, extremely bullish. We're not down there yet. I mean, we're down here pretty close. We're down below 1750, and looking at this range right here, it doesn't hit it very often. But the 2,000 where it gets extreme, and you can see some turnarounds, but you can also see a continuation of a sell. The last time it got below 2,000 over in this range back in June, it was down here for a couple of days, but you notice one day it was there, next day it shot back up, next day back down. Kind of a volatile time in the market. But okay, so just a quick review of the top three. Ford was one of them. It's just getting juicier here as it continues to sell off. It's dropping the lower Bollinger Band. The volumes aren't big time volumes, but they've been fairly high here recently, and it's breaking through 1650. I could see this coming down to about 16, maybe 16, 1575. I needed it to go to 1550 to get the risk reward that I wanted. I mean, I could hope that it goes to 1550, and I might do that, but I always like to keep the price targets within reason for me, and 1575 was about pushing it, and that's where I priced my options at. And still, you probably get a 2-to-1, just under a 2-to-3. Didn't get a quite full 3-to-1 like I wanted. It's about a 30% risk here. Needed about a 90% gain or more to get it, and I didn't get that till I got 1550 as a price target, and I just didn't see that. And again, 1575 has been resistance and support for it for the last 7 months. And then the other top three was, I'll just go bears and then the bullish one. So the Ford was bearish. EMC is another top three. This has been channeling basically about between this range, about a 50-cent channel, which doesn't mean it could go another 50 cents, which didn't. But looking at it on the chart, I mean, 23, it could get to 23. Looking at the chart, 22.5 is about where I'd see this one going. But same thing. The options here didn't quite get what I wanted. And then the bullish trade on the top three was Altria, MO. Now it's sold off a little bit here. Doesn't mean it's not bullish still if you jumped into a trade, but where this was closing above the prior high right here, it looked a little bit better, but still, I mean, I wouldn't worry. Still, everything's showing signs of this positive. And considering, again, what the market's doing today, to see this thing running like that, about 1%, is very bullish. I'd watch it up here towards the 38, break up into the upper Bollinger Band is what you'd be looking for this to do. Stop on the 7. Okay. That was my top three. Then let's go look at Diamond. Ouch. Looking at this one earlier today, it wasn't down that much, but yeah, it's really run down. Decent entrance yesterday, right there where you see it come back up to the 7 and end up selling and go into the lower Bollinger Band yesterday. Of course, we're looking at hindsight here, and today's action, just had some nice bearish follow through on that. As far as a trade right here, this has gone too far for me. It's over $2 away from the 7 right now. So it looks bearish and keep going, but it's just gone too far too fast today. And a lot of the stocks I was looking at did this already. Citi was one of them. I wasn't looking at this one. CERN, but had a little bit wider option spreads, was another one. They just went too far too fast. And so what would happen here, as far as your risk goes up, because you're entering at a spot, you're paying more for your options. If you're thinking about going puts here, you're paying more for the options, and you're also further away from the 7, which means there's a higher risk that it could consolidate back to the 7. And if that were to happen, the combination of those two, it could put you, in the hole if that happens. But on a continuation further, you could keep making money. But that's why I wouldn't enter here on that. It's just gone too far. Oops. And these just continue to go, right? Transocean, Halliburton, they just keep going. This is a nice little, it didn't come back to the 7 today, but what it did here today, here it came back, it broke 50 yesterday. Well, it tested that yesterday, sold off of it, sold off again today, and it's now pushing lower below 49. There's a decent level of support here at 48 for it, but this type of action right here, it can keep going. I mean, the volumes are still pretty big on these sells, so that could keep going. Walgreens is another one today. It's a vibe bull signal, bullish signal in the midst of a bear, of the bears out there today. Citi was one. It just went too far. It did this earlier on in the morning. Yeah, good idea, Sean. Top 3 from yesterday. So Time Warner, it held up there positive most of the day, just selling off the last little bit here is along with the market. If I was in a trade here, I wouldn't get out. It's what, down 23 cents. I wouldn't get out. I'd still stick to the original stop of the 7 on that. And then Key. This was positive most of the day too. This has turned and run back down. It's on lighter volumes, but I'd still let the original 7-day give that a shot to work for it. Held up pretty nice early on. The S&P at the lows. Look at this thing. Down 21. Right there, closing in on 1780. Maybe it's going to break it today. Holy cow. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be fun to see what happens tomorrow on this little bit of on this sell like this, to see if this level can hold and run higher. It's going to get some continuation. And now if you're looking at the Bollinger Band, which again for the S&P 500, but this is suggesting this level to hold as some support. A break into it and a hold lower would be pretty bearish, but this is just suggesting support at this level. My other top 3 from yesterday was and here we are at the lows, down about 2% on Mosaic. Let's look at through some of the others. Monsanto, Potash. See, this is one I've been watching today as well. Watching to see if it's going to break out of the 33 to 31 channel that it's been in there. It's slightly breaking, but I'd like it to jump into that lower Bollinger Band. That would be more confirmation for this thing going lower. First Solar, yeah, continues to go. This is the ETF for solars. Pretty bearish action too. It ran up towards the 7, selling back off, suggesting this thing to go lower as well. U.S. Steel, Pandora. Now Pandora is breaking to the downside. And this is one of those one too. I mean, down 8% today. Do you trust that it's just going to hold those levels and keep going? It's got the volume there, but there's just a big area right over here that it's got to get to. A break here could put it down towards 25, maybe 24. But that big 8% move today just makes me a little bit nervous to just jump in. Be chasing it a little bit here. Yeah, SPM. I wasn't able to get those in there. I'm going to have to put my top 3 in after the market closes. Yeah, Ford. EMC, and Altria. And Altria is selling off into the close. So where it's selling off into the close like this, I'd hesitate a little bit here. I liked it when it was what looked best. Doesn't mean it can't go higher. It's still above the 7 and it's still up for today, pretty good. But where it was up there towards the 37.75, it was also confirming a little bit of a candle pattern there as well, closing above the high of a couple days ago. SPX still tanking. Yeah, look at that. Let's go look at that over here. Down 22. Futures down 22. Puts the market down 21. That's a big day. Tesla is still hanging in there, down about 250. That's right. We were looking at that earlier on when I first jumped onto this. It's still about that same point, right about where it was. Let's look at the banks, see what's going on there. Goldman's, if it was an uglier move below the 7 today, it would be very bearish price action. It's just not that big a move below the 7. The reason I say that because this action, yesterday's action right here, huge run up, reversal, and today, if that pushed down further below that 7, it'd be pretty bearish action. Could come down lower. But where it's just right there on the 7, just lessens the odds a little bit. Bank of America, I've been watching this one today too. That got away. Big ugly move. This could come down towards the 15 mark, which isn't that far below it. It's another reason I didn't look here. Morgan Stanley, breaking bull support right there. For the last few days, it's right there on 32. See, that's 30 as well, I'll say. And then JP Morgan, right there at 56, that's support for it. Lasts a little while. Doesn't mean it can't break it, but it's holding in there. It's holding its own. Wells Fargo, I'd like to see this breakthrough below that 43.5 mark. Getting too bearish right there, could come down towards the 43. Yeah. Wick. Yeah, the VIX. Pushing through 15, up in the upper Bollinger Band. I can't always look at this technically, but very bullish reversal for it at this point. Band's expanding and could keep going, but yeah, what's some volatility today? HPQ, IBM, just running through a bunch here with you. How's Walgreens holding out? It's still up. It's still pretty good. MO, it's still, yeah, this one is sold off again. So Adobe, yeah. So this is a trend rider bear signal as well. Pushing back, hit the 7-day push back below, jumping in the lower Bollinger Band. Not a bad looking setup. RSI breaking 50 here. Oh, but they announced earnings. Thank you for saying that. Don't trade it. Don't trade it. They announce earnings on the 12th, so tomorrow. VIX calls, Polly. It's a big, I couldn't argue it. VIX calls. I'd go shorter term on them. I wouldn't buy too many. It could be a little bit of a hedge for you. Going back to the S&P, where are we at? 1780. We've got, 8 minutes left to the close. It's likely going to close right there, right on it. Okay, we are, yeah, we've been noticing the same thing as far as videos kind of cutting out a little bit. We're working with our broadcasting system as we speak right now, trying to figure that out because we can't see anything on our end with it. Pepsi at one point was looking like it might show some little bit of strength there, but is selling off here into the close. And then now here was a nice looking setup, but last I saw it, it was selling off. Yeah, it really sold off. But this wouldn't have been anything we would have traded. The options are pretty thinly traded. But at one point, this was showing a really nice reversal candle where it ran down to the 7 and then went briefly positive. When I saw that, it was up here, piercing the upper band. Looked like it had a nice bottom that's formed right through here. It looked like it might just take off, but where it's sold off into close like this. Again, the options are way thinly traded here. It was a nice looking setup for a while, but it didn't last. And yeah, the Incy Bincy Spider, nice looking. No, this is very close to what I'm looking at on Red Hat. Very tight bands like this. Very, man, it's just crashing in on each other here and waiting for a breakout on one side or the other. Same with U.S. Steel. Waiting for that breakout. And then another one too we've been watching is CLF. See what this is doing now. This is breaking down today, down below the 7 on some decent volumes. Now, bullish nature of this is off for a while. And some of the other stocks here have been looking. Kimberly Clark was up earlier. It sold off today. USO, haven't looked at this one. You know, coming back to the 7, coming back to 35. Looks like it's probably going to hold those two levels. All right. You want to see something funny? Well, it sold off a little bit, but this was up almost all day. This is BlackBerry. Remember, they got a downgrade and a price target of $4 on them. It was up most of the day. I made that analyst happy, I'm sure. But, you know, sold off a little bit here at the market. Goodyear Tire was another one I was watching for a break here. It's everything's just kind of selling off into the close a little bit. S&P, where are we at? 1780.09. Baidu, yeah, almost giving back what it gave us yesterday. Volumes are really light here. It's pulling back to 7. Pretty sharp turn to the 7. A little bit concerning if you're in a trade here, but it's still above the 7. It's one of those. SPM, which are you talking about? MO? Uh, with MO, it just sold off in the close today. It's not saying it can't go higher. The volumes are still good. It's still up like that. But I'd probably go, if they've got weeklies, I'd probably go a couple strikes in the money. And maybe, oh, with Walgreens. Sorry. Yeah, Walgreens is holding up better here than MO. Um, I'd have to go look at the options on it again. If they've got weeklies, I'd probably go December 4s, maybe January 1s if they've got them. If they don't, you're getting pretty close here to December, and today's Wednesday. If you wanted to be out by Friday, which we're not holding it over the weekend, then be a little bit more conservative to go out to January like that. Okay. And if it goes up, you're still going to make money, right? GMCR up, pulled back during the day. It's down 80 cents, and technically it's still above 72. Now that's a huge level. That's a decent level for it. Looking at 72 all through this area over here. It's coming back to it. You know, it's outperforming the market. It's not selling off big like the market was. So it's still well above the 7. Okay, I don't know if you're in that long or not, but if you are, you know, it's not that bearish, not all that bearish of a sell-off today, considering what the market's done. So I couldn't argue holding it if you're in that thing. Ford, it's coming back here a little bit. It's still going to close below the 7. I mean, sorry, below 1650 on some okay volumes. And then EMC off the lows too, but still and well within that lower band. It's got some decent volumes on it. And then MO, which we just looked at, it's coming back a little bit here at the close, pushing back towards a high. So if you can't see it, if you can hear me, try refreshing. Okay, yeah, you're back. Okay. Tesla, it's right there. It's off the lows of the day. It's just right there at the 140, right there at the 7. Low volumes today on this little bit of a sell. We're holding it obviously since the market is. Well, the bell hasn't rung yet. We've got about 60 seconds or less on that. Well, I want to see some of the big boys, how they held out today. Well, Google rolled over. Nothing too concerning though. Oh, not a triple A on Apple. Apple's, I'd give this 580 before I'd get buried. It is closing below the 7, but it's at 580. You know, I wouldn't get bearish yet. A break of 580, 560. Break of 560, not ultra bearish, but a little bit short-term bearish for see that do that. Hey, nice, PW. 16% return on yesterday's 2 of the top. Yeah, TWX, there's the bell. Down just slightly. I mean, really it outperformed the market, but, you know, getting out, I can't argue it ever. And then with MOS, that just thing kept going lower. It closed at the low. Yeah, this closed right at the low of the day. It could still run. I'd give this down to about 45. I mean, not 45, 44. It could go to 43. 44 would be a conservative target. If it hit that, I wouldn't argue just taking it and running. Well, let's survey some of the carnage out there. SPX not at the low, but pretty bearish looking day. So the question is it going to run lower from here? Is it going to try to hold its own throughout the day? You know, let's look over here at the S&P. You know, there's the lows way over here. It kept breaking the lows. I mean, here is the reaction low, which it broke and went a lot lower. And then it formed another low over here, which it broke, but it didn't hold that level. So we're off the lows a little bit. The market itself ended up down 20. Tomorrow will be an interesting day. The last day it had a day like this right here, which was quickly reversed. I don't know if we're going to get that this time, but very quickly reversed there. And over here, and I showed this last week, when this closed below the 20-day average. So far, every time this year, the market has closed below the 20-day moving average. Well, here's one time where it went back above the next day, but every time it's closed below the 20, it's wound up hitting the lower band. And well, it went below the 20, and today it's below the 20 again, and the lower band's right there. So it's not going to be too much of a stretch for it to hit the lower band at this point. Okay. Just want to see how some of these stocks ended up rolling. So lows here. You know, watch this. If this is a higher low right in here, it's got a little bit of it. Let me just show you here what I'm looking at. If you get a bounce up here off of lows like this, something where it closes above this point right here, and it's pushing up off of 7, it'd be a very bullish signal here for lows. Outperform the market today. If you get something like that, that's a good looking signal. I'll watch for that tomorrow. Let me see if that would be any type of a vibe signal. Very close, yeah. I mean, the 50 is a little bit flat, but the others are up. Be a pretty decent looking bull vibe, especially if the market. Yeah, the market's right there, Darren. Market's right there at that level. If it breaks through that level, then it's a confirmed head and shoulders pattern. Yeah, look at CERN, man. It just closed the low as well. This had just got away. It just the option spreads were a little bit wide. Not only it got away. I mean, it just went too far too fast. When I was first looking at it, it was just above the 55 mark here. It fell about another dollar right into the close. Probably going to keep going, but the spreads are wide there, and it's a little bit away from the 7 as well. Another one here is TripAdvisor. Spreads too wide for the options, but this is another trying to write a bear signal. A pretty decent one. You got that RSI breaking through 50. You got to see the little triangular pattern here. Breaking in the lower band. The volumes aren't that big. It's still a very bearish setup. The bands are expanding near the lows here. It's one of the tighter times this has been. This looks to run down to at least 80, but the option spreads are too far, too wide. Okay. Okay, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. It's been a pleasure once again having you on board. If you have any questions, I'll be in chat for a few more minutes. I'll get my top 3 out as well. I'll expect that within an hour. Sorry. I was trying to find that challenge trade. So I didn't get that. They get it done. They got the top 3. I'll put that out there within the next hour, and then you'll receive the notes and everything here shortly. Okay, everybody, have a great night, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Okay, thanks. Bye bye.